the format includes chapter 4. Um, Dito naka-delineate yung presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. And then chapter 5, which includes summary, conclusion, and recommendation. So this is the actual format of your university, and I will be discussing how you can write this final chapters of your thesis. So let's start first with chapter 4. So again, it includes the presentation, the analysis, and the interpretation of the data that you have collected. So when we say data presentation, it is the process of organizing information into logical, sequential, and meaningful categories and classification to make the gathered facts amenable to the study. So pag sinabing data presentation, very simple. Kung ano yung term na yon, that would mean na you are just presenting the data that you have collected into a logical, meaningful, and sequential manner. Okay? So mamaya I will tell you what are the different ways of presenting the data. So in quantitative data, it can be presented through tables, graphs, figures, or other non-textual forms. So kadalasan, ito yung ginagamit natin for quanti. And since all of you utilize quantitative as your research design, so definitely we can see there different tables, graphs, figures, together with the textual forms. So ito yung mga non-textual, ito mga tables, graphs, or figures. And then kasama niyan definitely yung mga explanations or statements. Later on, I'll discuss more of that. Pero again, for the data presentation, it's just a mere presenting the data that you have collected by using tables, graphs, or any figures. Okay, so that's what we mean when we say data presentation. Now, when you say data analysis naman, it is a process of systematically applying statistical and or logical techniques to describe and illustrate, condense and recap and evaluate data. So it goes hand in hand. Itong nasa chapter 4 natin. Connected yan. Even your previous chapters, especially yung chapter 1 ninyo, the statement of the problem, and the hypothesis of the study, talagang it should be aligned, okay, for the rest of the chapters of your thesis paper. So here in chapter 4, after your presentation of the data, data analysis will follow. Kung saan ina-analyze mo kung ano yung naging result of the data that you have presented. Okay, again, in your chapter 4, mauna muna yung data presentation. So after you present your data, you will analyze now what you have presented, okay, as your data. Kung ano ba yung mga data na nag-gathered mo. So, ayun, as a researcher, dapat you should be able to analyze, okay, what does your data imply? Okay, kung ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng data na na-collect mo. You should be able to articulate what you have presented in your data. So mamaya, I'll show you an example. I'm just giving you the definitions. So data analysis, the analysis refers to the skill of the researcher in describing, delineating similarities and differences, highlighting the significant findings or data, and the ability to extract information or messages out of the presented data. So in your analysis, dinidescribe mo, nagdi-delineate ka ng mga similarities and differences doon sa data na nag-gathered mo, and then you are highlighting the significant findings doon sa data na nakuha mo. So again, mamaya I'll show you an example para mas maging clear sa inyo. And then after your data presentation, after the data analysis, next thing that you have to do is to interpret the data that you have collected. So data interpretation is the process of reviewing data through some predetermined concepts, principles, or related findings which will help assign some meanings to the data. So for data interpretation, you are just interpreting what you have analyzed and what you have presented. Kagaya ng sinabi ko, connected yung chapter 4. Kung ano yung pinresent mo, kung ano yung in-analyze mo, yun din yung i-interpret mo. Okay? So, make sure na kung ano yung, yun nga, kung ano yung data indicated and then what you have analyzed, yun lang din yung i-interpret mo. So, it involves taking the result of data analysis, making inferences or implications on the relations studies, and using them to arrive at a valid conclusion. So, for the data interpretation, you are making inferences. As a researcher, malalim dapat yung iyong kaalaman. Through your review of related literature, dapat extensive yung readings mo about your study, and then with that, you can make your own inference based on the result of your study, based on the data that you have collected. Okay? So again, I'll show example later. So yun yung mga definition of terms natin. So to continue, in simple language, data analysis and data interpretation is the discussion of the results of the study. Again, itong chapter 4 natin, which includes data presentation, data analysis, and data interpretation. This is the discussion of the results of the study. So, yung chapter 4 natin, basically, you're just discussing kung ano ba yung naging resulta ng inyong study. Kung ano yung naging resulta ng data na na-collect ninyo. Now, the related literature plays a very significant role in the discussion of the data. So, kung ano yung nilagay nyo sa inyong chapter 2, dito siya mas magiging meaningful. Yung chapter 2, hindi siya nilagay dyan just for nothing. Okay? So, nilagay yung chapter 2 for you to be able to read the related literature na congruent sa inyong study, and at the same time, dito nyo siya gagamitin in your chapter 4. So, your RRL, they give justice to the research findings. They usually support the findings, however, there are some literature that contradict the findings. So dito sa chapter 4, you will present the literature that that support your findings, meaning yung mga literature na corroborates or with similar results sa inyong study. Pwede rin kayo magpakita ng mga literature na nag-contradict naman ng inyong findings. Yung mga opposite naman yung naging results. You can also do that. Actually, mas maganda nga yun if you are going to present those researches already na nagawa na similar to your findings, and at the same time, yung mga opposite yung findings in your study. Para nakikita um, yung para nagkakaroon tayo ng comparison. And then you have to articulate your ideas. You have to explain well kung bakit ganoon. Kung bakit may merong mga study na you have similar findings or similar results, and then why do you think na yung ibang study naman ay opposite yung findings. Okay, so again, I'll show you an example later. So, ayun, the RRL will give credibility to the findings of the research. Again, in your RRL, if you are going to include RRL sa inyong chapter 4, make sure that you properly cite your sources. Okay? Cite the authors, cite the references na gagamitin nyo. Okay? Kung maglalagay, definitely kasi maglalagay talaga kayo sa chapter 4. So make sure na tama yung in-text citations ninyo. So interpretation is the explanation or suggestion inferred from the data, their implications but not conclusions. So yung conclusion hindi natin nilalagay sa chapter 4. Sa chapter 5 ito nilalagay. Okay? So make sure lang na in making your interpretation, this is where these are your inferences, okay, based on the results of your study. So ito rin yung mga implications of your study, pero again, your conclusion hindi kayo dito maglalagay because that will be included in your chapter 5. Okay, so So, ano yung mga bases na ninyo in presenting data, in presenting and analyzing data? So, number one, your SOP or the objectives of your study. You have to go back always sa inyong SOP and sa inyong aims or the objectives of the study. So, dapat align yung inyong presentation of chapter 4 with your SOP. And then, mahalaga rin na you should be able to realign your chapter 4 with your hypothesis, research instruments, and your statistical tools. Pero ang pinaka mahalaga dito is your SOP. Okay? Dapat align yung presentation ninyo of chapter 4 with your SOP. Okay, so there are three ways of presenting data. Again, in your presentation of data, there are three ways. So first is in tabular form. So tabular form is a systematic arrangement of related data in which numerical facts or data are separated and grouped according to class or category. So most of the time, ito yung makikita nyo sa mga chapter 4s. I mean sa chapter 4 ng mga research studies. Okay, so most of the time ganito. So table 1, tuldok, and then the title of the table. Kung ano man yung table na yon, what the table is all about. So for example, here in our case, mean score and verbal description of students in reading. Tapos nakatabulate siyang ganyan. So this is how you present it. Ito naman ay manggagaling sa, again, itong ganitong result, it will come from your statistician after the data analysis. Ibibigay lang to sa inyo and then kayo naman, you will just present this in your chapter 4. Okay? So, ayan. Again, manggagaling to sa inyong statistician. So, you have this one aligned to with your questionnaire or with the instruments of your study. Kung ano yung naka-questionnaire, pinapakita lang dito yung result for each question. So, ayun. So, you have the indicators. Ito yung statements. Tapos, ito yung mean. Okay? Ng sagot ng specific respondent, ay ng mga respondents. Okay? And then, the verbal description. Included yan sa inyong instrument. And then, the overall mean. So, i-average lahat ng yan. Ito yung magiging overall mean. And then, the verbal description of this one, satisfactory. So, again, kay statistician naman manggagaling yan. So, all you have to do is to present it. And then, afterwards, you analyze it. Okay? So, that's a tabular form. Other ways, you have graphical form. So it is a presentation of data through a chart or diagrammatical form. It could be a bar graph, line graph, pie chart, or pictograph. It's up to you kung ano yung i-utilize nyo. So this one, sa ibang university, the format is kapag ka table, nasa taas yung ito siya. Sa taas nilalagay yung parang title of the table or parang yung sa name of the table, sa taas siya nilalagay. Pero for the figure, sa ilalim naman siya, just like this one. Okay, figure 1, bar graph of the percentage distribution of school principals in terms of tribe. So kayo bahala mag-isip kung ano yung title of the table or title of the figure na ilalagay nyo. Definitely, kung ano yung table na pinapresent nyo or kung ano yung figure na pinapresent nyo, that will be the title. Okay? So yan. So this one is a bar graph. You can utilize line graph, pie graph, or a pictograph. So that is a graphical form. Okay, so ito naman, kayo yung based on the result or based on the statistician's report, kayo yung mamimili kung paano nyo ipapresent yan. It's up to you. Kadalasan dito, for the demographics, kadalasan ito pie chart yung ginagamit. For example, sa gender, ayan, 47% female, 53% are male. Okay, so figure to pie chart of the percentage distribution of school principals in terms of gender. So this one is a graphical form, pie chart naman. Okay, so the third one is a textual form. So yung dalawang una are non-textual, meaning they are graphics, they are figures. Okay, now for the textual form, it is the presentation of data using group of words. It describes or narrates to readers what the researcher has done and the results that he has obtained. So both tabular and graphical forms still apply the textual form of analysis to give meanings to the gathered data. So lagi may textual form tayo sa ating data presentation. So kung ano man yung, for example, itong pie chart natin, this is a graphical form. Tapos, yung textual form natin is ito siya. Yung statements na kasama ng pie chart. So, ganun din dito, di ba? So, you have here the bar graph. This is a graphical form. Ito naman yung textual form, meaning the statements explaining or talking about this figure. So, in chapter 4, it's a combination of a graphical, tabular, and textual form. So, yun yung ginagamit natin in presenting your data. Okay, so now, I'll give you now an example na magagamit nyo in writing your chapter 4. Okay, so example na tayo ng presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. So, you have here the self-awareness of secondary school principals. For example, this is the variable, the first variable. Sa SOP, ito yung SOP number 1, kumbaga. Okay? So, it talks about, again, the self-awareness of secondary school principals. So, sa first paragraph, you can indicate here, parang you can give an overview of what self-awareness is or kung ano man yung variable mo, you can give an overview of that. Pero very limited lang. Yung significant lang na tingin mo ay kailangan mabasa uli or ma-review ng mga readers nyo. Kasi again, na-discuss mo na to probably in chapter 2 or in chapter 1. So dito in chapter 4, kung ano lang yung significant na gusto mong iparating sa inyong readers, you can do that in a limited way. Okay? This is like an overview lang ng SOP number 1 or ng variable na to. So in this example, define niya lang ulit what is self-awareness. So self-awareness refers to the school head's consciousness in his emotional states or feelings. It is having a clear perception of his personality, including strengths, weakness, thoughts, etc. So yun yung kanyang definition. Now, what do you think guys is missing in this definition? Merong missing sa definition na to. What do you think is that? Any idea? Kayo ba guys, for example, if you will define self-awareness, did that definition come from you? Sariling isip? Oo, no, hindi, di ba? Most of the time, hindi sariling isip ninyo or sariling definition yung ginamit. So if that is the case, ano yung kulang dito? The Okay, very good. The citation. Okay? So again, if you are going to define again the term and you just borrow the idea or the definition, do not forget your citation. So ito, in this example, baka naman kasi there are cases na operational definition yung ginagamit. Pag operational definition, that would mean na kung paano define yung term na yon based on the research study. So, pwede yun. Pwede kang hindi maglagay ng definition, I mean ng citation if that is the case. Pero, again, sa inyo ha, if you are going to borrow lang the idea or borrow a definition at hindi talaga siya nanggaling nga sa inyo, definitely, make sure na you give justice to the author, to the original author by citing kung sino man siya. Okay? So, yun yung mahalaga kapag kayo ay nagbaborrow lang ng ideas, ng definitions, or ng other statements that come from other authors. Okay, so yun. So after giving an overview, ayan, you can now include your table 3, presents the extent of the secondary school principle on self-awareness. Meaning, ipepresent mo na yung data mo dito on self-awareness. So ito, table 3 na siya kasi baka meron ng table 2 or table 1 above sa chapter 3 or sa chapter 2 or sa chapter 1. Kaya table 3 na siya. So ito yung table 3 niya, the mean score and descriptive interpretation of secondary principles on self-awareness. So this is a tabular form. So dito guys, you have the self-awareness. So these are the questions or the statements for self-awareness. Ito yung sagot ng principal. Tapos ito yung mean, ito yung description of that mean. Ito naman yung sagot ng teachers. Ibig sabihin, dalawa yung respondents niya. Principals and teachers. So ito yung sa teachers naman, ito yung mean ng teacher. Dito pa rin sa question na to. Ito yung description. And then, overall assessment, meaning pag pinag-combine si principal and teacher, ito yung overall assessment. We call this now as weighted mean. Pinagsama yung dalawang means na yan. So, ito na siya. Okay? And then, the description, ito siya. So, this description, nasa instrument niyo yan. Kung ano man yung nakalagay na description dyan. Okay? So, this data will again come from your statistician. Ang mahalaga lang is you know what this data mean. Kung ano yung meaning niyan. Kasi you are the researcher. If you do not know the data, how can you analyze and how can you interpret the data that you have gathered? So, as a researcher, dapat alam nyo kung paano i-analyze and interpret yan. Okay? So, means, ito yung means dito for, the combination of all these means, ito siya. And then the description, the verbal description of this mean for principal, for teacher, ito yung kanyang mean, and ito yung description. And then the overall assessment, ito yung kanyang average weighted mean, and then this is now the description. So, tingnan natin kung paano siya inanalyze in this example. Okay, so I just place here again the table para hindi tayo mahirapan in our analysis. Okay, so this is now guys, again, the data presentation. Itong kaninang pinakita ko sa inyo is the overview of the variable na you are about to present. Okay, or the overview of your SOP number 1 na ipe-present mo. So, ito na ngayon yung data presentation ninyo. So again, after the data presentation is your data analysis na. So how do you analyze this data? So itong mga nakakulay orange, this one is your data analysis. Again, di ba pag sinabing data analysis, you are going to analyze what is in your data or what is in your presented data. You're going to analyze what is in your table. So kailangan ma-analyze mo yan, may paliwanag mo kung ano ba yung data na pinapakita mo sa table na to. Okay? So, ito yung ating example. As shown in the above table, ito siya. The school administrators rated themselves as highly intelligent in terms of self-awareness. Diba self-awareness naman tong variable na pinag-uusapan natin? And ang una niyang sinabi yung school administrators which are the principal. Which is the principal. So they are the school administrator. So they rated themselves daw as highly intelligent. Ito yun. The verbal description for this one. So highly intelligent in terms of self-awareness is revealed by the mean of 4.36. So ito yung mean na 4.36 and the verbal description for that is highly intelligent. So, pinagsama-sama lang tong mean ng principal's assessment, gathered answer, and then ito yung result. And then ito naman yung kanyang verbal description. So again, as a researcher, dapat you know how to analyze this table. So yun yung unang analysis. So the school administrators rated themselves as highly intelligent in terms of self-awareness. So since self-awareness yung pinag-uusapan natin as revealed by the mean of 4.36. So ito yung kanyang pinakita. So this is somewhat supported by the teachers who appraise their principals as intelligent. Ito siya. As intelligent only as reflected by the mean of 3.80. So after maipakita ni researcher yung result sa principal, pinakita naman niya yung result sa teacher. So ito lang yung pinapakita niya. Okay, the means overall dito sa ilalim. Okay? So, yung sa teacher daw, the result is intelligent. Ito yung verbal description as reflected by the mean of 3.80. And then, ito naman tayo sa overall weighted mean of 3.82. Ito siya, described as intelligent. So, yon ang ating data analysis. Again, for the data analysis, you are analyzing what is indicated in your table or in your graph or in your figure, kung ano man yung nilagay nyo dyan. Ina-analyze mo lang siya or ina-explain mo lang kung ano yung mga nakita nyo. So, this is just one example. Okay? Again, ang pinakita niya lang dito, itong nasa ilalim. Pero pwede nyo rin namang sabihin isa-isa to. Okay? Stop. You can go here sa principal muna. For example, ito yung example, ano? So, sa principal's assessment, self-awareness with a statement of finds ways to express his or her feelings got the highest mean of 4.27, which can be interpreted as highly intelligent. Okay? Ay, ito pala yung highest, sorry. Dalawa pala yung highest, 4.67. Okay, so pwede nyo ipakita kung ano yung highest. So again, pwede nyo sabihin dito, under the self-awareness, the statements that got the highest score is feels confident to work without the need of direct supervision with a mean of 4.67 and interpreted as highly intelligent. This is also the same for the statement assume significant personal and professional risk to accomplish important goals with a mean of 4.67 and interpreted as highly intelligent. Tapos, pwede nyo sabihin yung lowest naman. The lowest self-awareness statement is recognize a situation that triggers his or her emotions with a mean of 4.0 and a verbal description of intelligent. So that is for the principal. And then you can also do the same for the teacher. And then you can also do the same for the overall assessment. Kaya lang medyo mas magiging verbose yung inyong explanation. Okay, masyadong magiging mahaba. Kaya in this example, ang ginawa na lang is ito na lang yung kanyang inanalyze, yung kanyang yung kanyang inexplain. Pwede niyong gawin yung sinabi ko kanina if tingin nyo na significant talaga yung findings ninyo na dapat ay isa-isahin nyo siya. Pero kung hindi naman na kailangan na tingin nyo magiging masyadong mahaba yung inyong analysis, you can go ahead and just analyze itong pinaka um, ilalim or yung pinaka overall assessment na nandito. Either this one, yung pinaka average natin, the overall mean, or dito sa overall assessment. Okay? So, that's one way of analyzing your data. So, after the analysis, here comes the data interpretation. Interpretation naman, di ba? Sabi natin, data presentation, tapos data analysis, and then afterwards, or data interpretation. So, after you analyzing the data above, ito nakakulay blue naman is our data interpretation. So, ibig sabihin, for your data interpretation, again, you are making inferences about the data that you have analyzed. So, ano yung inference natin dito in your data interpretation? So, again, magbabase ka lang ng interpretasyon base dito sa iyong analyzation. So, dito siya nahinto, the overall weighted mean of 3.82 described as intelligent. Connotes, so meaning you are now making inferences. Okay? Nagbibigay ka na ngayon ng iyong um, parang interpretation of the data. So it connotes that school heads in Region 12 are generally aware of their internal states, preferences, habits, resources, and intuitions. This also means that principals feel confident to work without the need for direct supervision in the implementation of the relevant program of activities to achieve organizational goals. Pansinin guys, meron ka ba ditong in-text citation? Meron kayo nakitang in-text citation, students? Wala tayong makikitang in-text citation kapag yung statements came from us or came from you as researchers. Okay, kasi nga, itong mga statements na to ay nanggaling sa inyo and much more the interpretation kasi sa inyo nanggaling yung interpretation. Okay? So, this is now how you present the data, this one, the self-awareness, how you analyze the data that you have presented here, and how you interpret the data that you have analyzed. So again, goes hand in hand itong tatlo na yan. Okay? And that is for your first variable. Ay, hindi pa pala tayo tapos. Nasa data interpretation pa lang tayo, di ba? The next one is how you can make this one, how you can make this data interpretation more enriching and more informative. How it can be more meaningful, again, by adding your literature. So, ito na yung sinasabi natin na you will integrate the RRL that you have collected sa inyong chapter 2. So ngayon, dito ka na makakakita ngayon ng mga in-text citations or yung ating mga references. Okay, yung mga cited authors natin. Kasi nga, it comes from your RRL, your chapter 2. So again, in this paragraph, after your data analysis, after your data interpretation, the next thing is the next paragraph is about the RRL na supporting your interpretation or your result, or pwede rin yung contradicting your result. Diba? Yun yung sabi natin kanina. In presenting your chapter 4, you can either present there the different RRL na either in support or corroborates with your study, or yung nag-contradict or yung nag-oppose sa iyong results of the study. Now, in our example, SACS 2011 supports the above findings when he emphasized that administrators must be aware of their internal states by being conscious of their potentials and strengths, as well as acknowledging what they still have yet to learn. So again, itong RRL na ipe-present mo is naka-base doon sa interpretation na pinakita mo. Kasi dito, in our interpretation, sinabi na yung mga school heads or yung mga administrators natin, um, they are aware of their internal states, their preferences, their habits, resources, and intuitions. Tapos they feel confident about their work without any supervision. So yun yung inyong interpretation. So hahanap ka ngayon ng mga RRL with the same result or with the same interpretation that you have. So kagaya nito. Ito na nga yung example. So si Zach, sinabi niya rin na yung mga administrators or principals are aware of their internal states by being conscious of their potentials and strengths. So, ibig sabihin guys, mas nagiging meaningful yung ating data interpretation by including yung mga RRL na nabasa natin sa chapter 2. Okay, mas nagiging meaningful siya, mas nagiging enriching yung ating discussion. So, kung meron pang ibang authors, then go ahead, add them. For example, si Articulo and Florendo 2003 added, self-awareness is an essential skill that is crucial to effective leadership behavior. Okay, again, kung related yung study doon sa dinidiscuss mo about this one, self-awareness, go ahead and include that as your additional discussion. Further, Herbert 2011 concluded that school administrators who are aware of their emotions and preferences can easily influence their teachers to perform better in achieving organizational goals. So in presenting the RRL that supports or contradicts your findings, make sure that you have a proper citation. Okay, so that is the next paragraph. The last paragraph is the implication of your study. Ito guys, in other research format, yung implication is nasa chapter 5 din. Okay? Depending on your institution, kayo nang bahala based on your discretion kung mag-include kayo ng inyong implication sa chapter 4. Okay? Anyway, i-check naman din yan ng research advisor nyo. Pero ang sure ako na dapat I included in your university format is hanggang dito. Ito yung constant na format natin in presenting chapter 4. Dapat hanggang sa presentation of the RRL that corroborates or contradicts your findings. Ito, yung pinaka last paragraph, some university format, sa chapter 5 nilalagay yung implication. Again, for the implication, this is all about the significance or the inferred meaning. Ito yung importansya ng meaning na nakuha mo on your study. Kagaya nito, the above findings suggest that organizational leaders should be conscious of their core values, inclinations, and instincts so that their followers will be inspired to become leaders in the future. Further, they should be sensible of what they are good at while acknowledging what they still have yet to learn by being aware and open-minded of the feedbacks they receive from their teachers. So dito guys, for the implication, ano yung importansya ng iyong interpretation or nung findings mo sa mga sa mga sa mga respondents mo or doon sa mga significant populations na pwedeng makaapekto or maka-influence in your study. So in this case, ang ginamit are teachers and students, 'di ba? So kasi this is all about the school principals or school administrators. So pinakita rito kung ano yung implication ng interpretation of the findings sa eskwelahan, sa teacher, tsaka sa estudyante. Okay? So ano yung significance ng pagiging, for example, ng independent school administrator or school principal? Ano yung kanyang importance para sa mga teachers at sa estudyante? So this one, kayo yung mag-iisip ng sarili nyong implication, kayo yung mag-iisip ng sarili nyong inferred meaning of what you have interpreted, so wala kayong citation dito. Okay, so again itong implication is different from your conclusion. So, yung conclusion mamaya sa chapter 5 natin siya i-discuss. Okay? Pero just to be safe, okay, include nyo na itong implication of your study sa chapter 4 as your format. Anyway, check naman nga yan ng inyong RA. So, kung ipatanggal ng RA nyo, then okay lang. Kung ipa-include nyo sa chapter 5. So, pero make sure lang, at least meron na kayong statement for that. So, this now includes your chapter 4. Ano pa ba? Okay. So, yun. This now is our example for the first variable or for the first SOP. So, laging ganito. For example, SOP number 2 na kayo or variable number 2. Ganito ulit yung presentation nyo. You can have an overview of that variable or of that SOP. Tapos, yung table na, ito na yung, I mean, the data presentation, either table man yan, or figure, or graph, anything. And then after data presentation, your data analysis, and then your data interpretation, and then afterwards, your data, I mean, the RRL that supports or contradicts your findings, and then the implication of your interpretation or the implication of the results. So you will do that kung ilan yung SOP nyo. So kung mas marami, wala tayong magagawa. You have to isa-isahin nyo talaga. At again, yung presentation of chapter 4, kung ilan yung SOP nyo, at kung paano yung chronological order ng SOP ninyo, ganun din yung magiging order ng presentation of your chapter 4. So, ayun. That is our example. Now, I'll show you another example. This one is an actual research paper then of our students sa master's degree or sa master's class. Sorry. For the master's class, the title of this study is Compassion Fatigue, vis-a-vis work performance of district hospital nurses, a preliminary study for developing strategies. Okay, so the statement of the problem, pinakita ko lang dito para um, aware kayo. So for the SOP, you have, how many SOP ba to? Ang dami rin ito eh, 7 SOP. So the first SOP is about the profile characteristics of the respondents. Second is the level of compassion fatigue. Third is the level of work performance. So etc. So ibig sabihin kung paano na-present yung SOP na to, ganun din dapat may present yung chapter 4. So hypothesis, I just included that. So ito na ngayon yung chapter 4. So, ganito rin kung paano yung ilalagay. So, chapter 4, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. So, pwede kayo magbigay ng overview about ano yung nilalaman ng chapter 4. Okay? So, it's up to you kung paano nyo siya i-state. Okay? The overview of chapter 4. So, again, the first variable or the first SOP is about the demographic profile. Tingnan. So, ayan. So, profile characteristics of the respondent. So, align siya. So, SOP number 1 in chapter 4, ito yung unang ipepresent. Demographic profile. So, this is our SOP 1. So, siya, di na siya nagbigay ng definition of the demographic profile. Kagaya nga na sinabi ko sa inyo, di ba? It's up to you as a researcher kung magbibigay pa ulit kayo ng definition or ng overview. Pero you can just go ahead and directly state the data and then the analysis. So ito yung table 2, ito yung table 2 niya. So nasa ilalim. So, table 2 is about the profile of the respondents according to their sex. So ito yung sex, male, female, tapos total, frequency, and then the percentage. So, naka-tabular form na lang yung ginamit niya. So, ito yung data presentation, ito yung data analysis. So, table 2 shows the profile of the respondents according to their sex. Out of 202 respondents, ito yung 202 respondents, there were more females with a frequency of 167 and a percentage of 82.7. So, tingnan na, 202 frequency of 167 and percentage of 82.7%. So, tama naman. Then, males na frequency of 35 and a percentage of 17.3. So, male, 35, percentage of 7.3%. So, tama din. So, in nursing, so, yun na. So, that is the data analysis of the presented na table. Kasi nga, maikli lang naman yung table na to, di ba? I mean, the data presented is just the demographics. So, kung maikli lang yan or kung limited lang yung pinapakita nyo, definitely yung data analysis nyo will also be short. So, ganun lang siya kasimple. Again, depending on the data that you are presenting. So after the data analysis, data interpretation. So ito yung kanyang interpretation. Um, I think na siya, in the nursing practice and industry, female, yun yung sabi niya, female dominates while men are joining the profession. So subsequently, female started the nursing profession with the idea of caring for patients, especially during war in the time of Florence Nightingale. So yun yung kanyang interpretation of the data na na-analyze, the data na na-analyze niya. Now, after that, again, the RRL that supports or corroborates the finding. So this was supported by Halliday and Parker, 1997, stating that the feminist acts of Nightingale attempted to demonstrate the ability of women to work as men do so. As such, she proved the nursing practice paved opportunities for females to work as nurses who are servants of care, medicine, surgery, and hygiene. Guys, for the RRL na maipapakita nyo, I know mas updated pa yung RRL nyo, no? Yung mga accepted natin na RRL, yung mga last 10 years published na researches na. So meaning kung 2002 ngayon, ay 2022, yung accepted would be 2012, 10 years backwards. So, yun yung mga kadalasan na pino-point out din ng mga critic. Dapat updated yung mga literature na ipapakita natin. Okay, so yun yung ating unang variable or SOP kasi yun yung una no? Sex, about the sex. Afterwards, yung pangatlo is the age. So table 3 shows the age, the profile of the respondents according to their age. So ito yung age niya. So it revealed that most of the respondents were aged 30 to 39. So naka-bracket siya. 30 to 39 daw yung most respondents. So tama. So 112 yung frequency. Percentage is 55.4%. So most nurses are under the said age group. So ayun lang. After niyang the analysis of the data, interpretation niya na agad. So most nurses are under the said age group, a working group that builds careers while older groups are becoming a disadvantage in employment. So moreover, young nurses enter the profession as the nursing population decrease over time. And then the RRL. So this is supported by Carvalho et al., where the profile of nurses in their study include young professionals with a mean age of 33. Okay? As generational conflict may arise in the nursing profession but is considered to be a reality in promoting the development young professionals. Okay, so yun lang. Isa-isahin nyo siya, okay, based on the data that you will be presenting. So, tuloy lang tayo, ano. So, after nung SOP number 1, actually SOP number 1 pa rin yan kasi marami siyang demographics dito eh. Tignan, no. The demographic, SOP number 1, yung mga demographics includes the sex, the age, the years of service, educational attainment, area of practice. So, isa-isahin nyo yan. Pero, yung iba rin naman, some researchers, isang table, magkakasama lahat yan. Tapos, pwede nyong explain yan all together. It's up to you. So, in this example, inisa-isa niya, tapos, isang interpretation, isang analysis, isang interpretation, isang RRL for each. It's up to you. So, pero sa iba, pinagsasama-sama yan sa isang table since isang ano lang naman yan, isang SOP. So you can also do that. Isang table, tapos isang analysis for all, isang interpretation for all, isang RRL for all, and isang implication for all. So you can do that. So I'm just giving you an option. Okay? So that is for the SOP number 1. And then SOP number 2, punta tayo sa SOP number 2 niya about the level of compassion fatigue. Tignan natin. Inisa-isa niya kasi yung demographics. Kaya medyo madami. So, ito na. Ito na yung ating level of compassion compassion fatigue. Ayun. So, here, compassion fatigue. So, ito yung kanyang SOP number 2. Okay, so table 7 shows the respondents' level of compassion fatigue in terms of burnout. So, meron kasing different subscale pa yung compassion fatigue. So, una niyang pinakita is the burnout. So, ganun pa rin, ano, same lang din how you present. Data presentation first. Ito yung data presentation. Ayan, medyo madami. So, after your data presentation, you analyze the data. And then after the analysis is your interpretation. So, tingnan natin how is the data analyzed here. So, data shows that the computed score mean for burnout is 24.41. Tingnan natin. Ito, tama. So, ito yung kanyang computed mean, 24.41. Tapos, yung verbal interpretation is moderate. Let's go back. So, data analysis na to ha. So, this reflects respondents to have a moderate compassion fatigue in terms of burnout. So, yun yung kanyang verbal description na pinakita natin kanina. It further revealed that the highest mean score of burnout is feeling of being overwhelmed. So, guys, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Pwede nyong isa-isahin yung mga statements. So, ito yung sabi, it further revealed that the highest mean score of 3.06 of burnout is the feeling of being overwhelmed because of my workload seems endless. So, tingnan natin kung saan to. Yung highest mean score daw is yung being overwhelmed because of my workload seems endless. Tingnan natin the table. So, the highest mean score is, ayun, so ito siya. So, the highest mean score dito sa table is this one. I feel overwhelmed because of my workload seems endless with a mean score of 3.06. So, part of data analysis pa rin. Okay, so pwede nyo again ipakita yung highest mean score and then pwede rin nyo na ipakita yung lowest mean score. Okay, so let's go back. So on the other hand, respondents showed a high level of caring as a primary duty of nurses. Ayun, with the lowest burnout mean score of 1.78. So pinakita niya yung highest, tapos pinakita niya yung lowest. So that's one way on how you can analyze your data. Okay? And then again, your interpretation. So the primary reason why nurses experience burnout is the workload they experience. So that is the interpretation of the researcher. So this is characterized by doing a lot of responsibilities as lesser number of nurses were deployed to each district hospital. So meaning guys, again, your interpretation is based on your knowledge about what you have read sa and what you have read and what you know about the variable na pinag-aaral or the variables that you are studying or investigating. So ito yung sarili nyong idea, the interpretation. Okay, so however, nurses do understand their oath as they are aware of their primary duties to provide care. Now, after again your interpretation, here comes your RRL. So laging may ganyan. So the risks of burnout were also evident from the study conducted by Sodek, Gregson et al. So ibig sabihin ito yung supporting na literature na pareho yung findings ng study niya. Okay? So pareho daw siya ng result with Sodeke, Gregson et al. As higher rates of burnout can be seen among workers with less support from the management experience heavy workloads given to them. Okay, so dito guys, wala yung implication kasi sa chapter 5 namin siya nilalagay. So wala kayong makikitang implication sa chapter 4. Okay, so that is the discussion of the chapter 4. So again, tuloy-tuloy lang siya hanggang matapos nyo yung inyong SOP for your chapter 4. So the more SOP, the more discussion sa chapter 4. Okay. Now, do you have questions, guys, for SOP on how you can write your your chapter 4? Any questions, guys? Okay, clear naman yung discussion. Okay naman tayo with my discussion. Okay, sige, very good. Okay, thank you. So we now proceed to chapter 5. So after you writing your chapter 4, tuloy-tuloy lang hanggang sa chapter 5. So chapter 5 includes the summary, conclusion, and the recommendations. So tatlo yung parts under chapter 5. Okay, for the summary of findings, this section serves as a brief restatement of the components of the research paper. So ibig sabihin, sa-summarize mo lang, magkakaroon ka ng parang recap of the previous chapters that you have. So you will summarize again, very shortly lang, yung yung mga parts na to. Overall purpose and objective of the study, the type of research used, the nature and size of the sample, the local, the main and sub-problems, major findings of the research. So ito yung sa summary of findings. Ito yung mga pinapakita natin. Although findings lang yung very significant talaga, pero some researchers in their format, sinasummarize na rin nila ito. I mean, pinapakita na rin nila ito para recap sa chapters 1, 3, and 4. Okay? So yon, summary of findings. So it should also state the findings from which the conclusion will be derived. So with this while this should be written in a concise manner, the clarity of thought should be considered. So concise lang, ibig sabihin maikli lang to and exact yung mga statements na sinasabi nyo. So it should be written in a way that the questions under the statement of the problem are expressed first, followed by the findings that would answer it. I'll show an example later. So the statement should be straightforward but still meaningful. Again, yung statements ninyo ng summary of findings should be direct. Okay, walang paligoy-ligoy na kasi summary na lang to. So straightforward kayo pero still meaningful. So, di na ito yung papakita kong example. Dito na lang tayo sa research. So ito yung ating chapter 5. Ito yung sample. So you will place your summary of findings, conclusion, and recommendations. So you can have a brief overview of what this chapter is all about. Okay, so ito yung kanyang overview, tama ba? Ayan, this chapter contains a summary of the findings and conclusions that were derived from the processes undertaken. So kayong bahala ko ng overview nyo for chapter 5. Okay, so ito na yung kanyang summary of the previous chapters. Nabigay mo na siya ng summary ng descriptive correlational, ni-recall niya lang, a standardized questionnaire was utilized. By the way, naka-past tense na kayo dito guys na. Sa chapter 5, since tapos na yung study, past tense na. Yung chapter 4, naka-present tense kasi discussion siya. Chapter 5, past tense na kung may kailangan naka-past tense since you are already done with your study. Okay, so ganun din sa chapter 1 with the SOP. Since kapag ka nasulat nyo na yung chapter 5, since it's already done, i-past tense nyo na yung mga dapat i-past tense. Okay, so yun, sinummarize na lang uli yung design, yung questionnaire, the hypothesis of the study, and then, the data analysis or the data collection procedure. Ayun. So yun very lang to, very straightforward and direct. Kung ano yung mga gusto nyong ipakita, i-recap as a summary in your previous chapter, go ahead and include. Pero ang mahalaga rito ito, summary of findings. So ito yung summary of findings. Again, should be aligned with your SOP. Kung ilan yung SOP mo, yun din yung mga summary of findings mo. So the first SOP is the profile characteristics of the respondents. So, di ba, if you could recall yung SOP niya, ito yung una talaga. So, under the profile, ang una niyang sub is the sex. So again, for the summary of findings, you are just summarizing what you have found out. Okay, kung ano yung naging result of your study or of your data collection. So so ito siya. Sex, the majority of nurses in district hospitals were female. O, very straightforward, di ba? Age, the majority of district hospital nurses were aged 30 to 39 years old. This was followed by nurses with age. Teka, charge lang ako, guys. So this was followed by nurses with the age range of 21 to 29, a small number of nurses belonging to the age. So yun, basically, sinasummarize nyo lang, guys. You're just providing the summary of the results of your study here. Okay? So level 2, SOP number 2, so ito yung summary ng sub-variable, burnout. Ano naman yung susunod na sub-variable niya, summary, secondary traumatic stress. And then SOP number 3, ito yung summary for this sub-variable, and then another summary. So again, pag summary, you are just you are straightforward, direct to the point. Walang paligoy-ligoy, wala ka ng discussion na nilalagay dito, guys. Okay? No more discussion, you are just summarizing what you have found out. Okay, so that's it. So marami siyang SOP, so marami ka rin summary. So dapat align siya with your SOP. Ito yung relationship between compassion fatigue and work performance. Data denotes significant p-value in terms of correlating compassion fatigue with work performance. This means that compassion fatigue is correlated with work performance. The correlation coefficient is negative as the data which indicates that as compassion fatigue increases, the work performance decreases. So pwede kang maglagay ng konting inference mo para to prepare for your conclusion. Okay? Again, pwede kang maglagay dito ng short inferences mo na na-discuss mo na rin sa chapter 4 para lang ma-recap yung mga readers and to help you guide in writing your conclusion. Kasi your conclusion should always be aligned with with the summary of the findings or with your chapter 4. So that is a summary. Now, punta na tayo with the conclusion. Okay, for the conclusion, it contains insights drawn from the findings of each problem. So ito yung mga insights na nakuha mo sa bawat SOP na nilagay mo. Okay, these insights answer the questions presented at the beginning of the research paper. So dapat, yung conclusion nyo, you should be able to answer pa rin the questions that you have presented in your SOP. So, however, the conclusion to be drawn should not come from the indirect implications of the study. Tandaan, yung conclusion, it should be limited within the information actually yielded by the conducted investigations. Kung ano lang yung results of your findings, kung ano lang yung na-analyze mo, na-interpret mo, yun lang yung i-conclude mo. Do not conclude outside what you have studied. Huwag ka magko-conclude na wala naman sa iyong discussion or hindi mo naman na-tackle or hindi naman talaga in line with your variables or with the data that you have analyzed. So, you go back to your SOP, you go back to your data analysis and interpretation for your conclusion. So, align siya dapat. So, dapat simply stated lang din yung ating conclusion. Actually, yung buong chapter 5, straight to the point tayo. Straightforward, direct tayo sa mga statements natin. Okay? It must be devoid of any elaborate discussion. So sa conclusion, wala ka na i-discuss dyan actually. Okay? So, straight to the point lang tayo. Wala ka ng further discussion na magaganap. So, kung ano lang yung pwede mong i-conclude as a researcher, yun lang yung gagawin mo. So each conclusion is a precise statement directly answering the stated problems. Again, in your conclusion, you should be able to answer the questions that you have raised sa inyong mga SOP. So it should be stated in a way that reader will in no way doubt the correctness of the entire research study. So what else? Ito yung difference lang ng finding versus conclusion. So kasi conclusions are not just restatements of the findings. So yung conclusion nyo, hindi siya parang nire-repeat mo lang or sinasummarize mo lang kung ano yung naging findings mo. So ito yung example. Ito yung findings. There is a significant increase in the exercise performance of a group of senior citizens who have used mental practice to increase their performance. So this is your finding. Now, paano ka magko-conclude sa finding mo na to? So, mental practice appears to be an effective means of increasing exercise performance in the elderly. So, you are concluding based on your finding. Okay? So, as a researcher, you have that discretion. Kung ano, definitely based on your readings, based on your experience, then based on your data, that's how you can conclude. Okay? So, that's how we make our conclusion. Okay, so let's see the example here. So for the conclusions, it's in paragraph form. Hindi kagaya nito sa ating summary of findings, naka-number siya based on your SOP. So for the conclusion, naka-paragraph form tayo. So, considering the findings of the study concluded that most nurses experience low to moderate compassion fatigue. So, how you present your conclusion, again, should always be aligned or in line with your SOP. Dapat sinasagot mo lang yung mga SOP mo rito. So, kagaya rito, most nurses experience low to moderate compassion fatigue. So, straightforward. Okay, so this was evidenced by the majority of nurses experiencing a moderate level of burnout and a low level of secondary traumatic stress. Among the study demographic variables, compassion fatigue had a significant difference based on years of service. It connotes that compassion fatigue varies among nurses. So again, conclusion, dear researchers, kayo yung bahala dito based on your own discretion, based on your findings, based on your data, and align with your SOP. So, straightforward tayo, no more additional discussion or information yung dapat na pinapresent nyo dito. Okay, so that's for the conclusion. Finally, recommendations. So, based on the findings and conclusions, your recommendations will serve as a practical suggestions for future research in similar fields. So, magre-recommend ka na ngayon or magsasuggest ka na kung ano yung mga na found out mo. Again, directly pa rin aligned or related pa rin siya with your conclusion, with your findings, with your SOP. So, recommendations are expressed in clear and concise terms. So again, straightforward tayo, direct to the point, walang paligoy-ligoy with the recommendations. So it may also be stated giving suggested measures to concerned agencies, institutions, or to the government that may lead towards the betterment of society in general. Okay, dito guys, ito yung mga guidelines lang. Do not write recommendations that are too broad. Huwag kang recommend ng hindi naman doable or napaka-unrealistic na recommendation. Again, do not recommend na very, very vague and unrealistic recommendation, yung hindi siya doable, huwag mo na i-recommend if that is the case. Okay? Do not recommend anything that has not been previously discussed. Kung hindi mo naman na-discuss, huwag mong i-recommend or huwag kang magbigay ng recommendation. Your recommendation should only be aligned with your conclusion, with your chapter for discussion. Kung ano lang yung mga na-discuss mo doon. So, the rule for no new material in the conclusion also applies in this section. So, dapat concrete yung actions or yung suggestions na ibibigay ninyo. Kagaya ng sinabi ko, hindi pwede yung vague, hindi pwede yung unrealistic. So, it should be concrete. And guys, in our case as nurses, common na ina-address na recommendations natin are three. First, you address your recommendations to the nursing education or nursing academe. Second, to the nursing practice. And then third, to the nurse researchers. Okay, kadalasan yun yung mga ilalagay natin. Sila yung binibigyan natin ng recommendations. Again, recommendation for the nursing education or the nursing academe. Second, recommendation for the nursing field or nursing practice. Okay, meaning ito yung mga nagpa-practice. Yung una, yung sa academe or education, ito yung definitely sa mga estudyante, sa mga nag-aaral. Yung pangalawa, nursing practice or in the nursing field, ito yung mga nagpa-practice na in the hospital, in the community, or in any setting na pwede nyong bigyan ng recommendation. And then yung pangatlo, yung nurse researchers or yung mga future researchers na tinatawag natin. So you can also recommend kung ano yung mga possible influence or impacts of the findings of your study. So, yun yung tatlo na common na ginagamit natin. Okay? Nursing education or nursing academe, nursing practice or nursing field, and then nurse researchers or the future researchers. Okay? Pero pwede rin naman if ever policy makers, if ever na meron kayong naisip na recommendation in line with policy making or law making, and then pwede nyo i-add yun. Pero that's yung diniscuss ko na tatlo, yun yung most common. Okay, so what else? Itong type of recommendations, ito for the future researchers to or for the nurse researchers. So, pwede nyo i-recommend sa kanila na pwedeng i-replicate yung study nyo if ever lang na replicable naman talaga yung study nyo. So, pwede rin yung extension of the study. If pwedeng maituloy yung study nyo, um, you may recommend kung ano yung pwedeng gawin ng mga future researcher as an extension of your study or like a continuation of your study. So, pwede yun. Itong replication, you can suggest din sa mga researcher nga na they can partially replicate or completely replicate your study. Ibig sabihin ng partial replication, pwedeng gayahin yung research study nyo. Tapos magbabago lang sila, for example, utilize another setting or another population or another design. So you can suggest that. Complete replication, ibig sabihin, pwede nyo masuggest na gayahin totally yung inyong research paper. And then, i-discuss nyo why. Bakit gusto nyo ipagaya yung research paper nyo completely sa mga future researchers. So, that is how you can give recommendations to the future researchers. Okay, so ito yung example natin sa pinaka-paper. So, recommendations. Based on the findings and conclusion of the study, the following recommendations are hereby submitted. So, ito, nursing practice. Ito nga yung sinabi ko, di ba, yung una, the three areas, the nursing practice or in the nursing field. So, ito yung kanya mga recommendations. So, again, it is based on your study. Ayan. So, di ko na babasahin, basta, aligned, and straightforward lang dapat. So, nursing practice, ito yung kanyang recommendation. And then the second area, nursing education or in the academe. So, ito naman yung kanyang mga recommendations or suggestions. Ayan. Again, concrete dapat, doable, and realistic. And then nursing research or yung mga future researchers natin. So ito yung kanyang the future researchers involve a larger number of respondents in the study. So gusto niyang na-recommend niya na gumamit ng mas maraming respondents. Include other healthcare practitioners handling patients, involve other hospital aside from district hospitals, etc. Okay, so this is how you recommend. Okay, so that concludes my discussion on chapter 5. Do you have questions, guys? Any clarifications? Okay, so afterwards, so after the chapter 5, here comes next your references section. So all your references dito nakalista in alphabetical alphabetical alphabetically arranged. Okay? So sundan lang yung ating APA format 7th edition. Again, APA format 7th edition, references, and then alphabetically arranged. So dapat lahat ng in-text citations na meron kayo from chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, mag-reflect siya dito. So that is your references section. So 3, 4 pages, umaabot siya ng ganon. Depending kung gaano karami yung inyong references. Okay, so after the references, here comes your appendices. For the appendices, you will just include all your yung mga nagamit nyo in your research paper. So for this one, the first appendix is Appendix A, permission letter, a letter asking permission to conduct the study. It's up to you kung paano nyo i-present, pero this is the usual. Okay, so permission letter, ayan, to conduct the study, Appendix A, maglagay lang kayo ng sample ninyo or yung pinaka-actual document. Scan nyo and then include as your appendix. So, yan, another permission letter. Ito naman, to use the instrument. Ito, permission letter sa DIN yata naka-address to. Doon sa sa contact person para sa mga respondents. Ito yung kanyang permission letter sa institution na yon, sa hospital. Ito naman permission letter to use the instrument. Okay, kung gumamit kayo ng questionnaire, ayan. Pwede ipakita yung email ninyo. This one is the informed consent form or appendix B na to, informed consent form. So kung gumamit ka ng informed consent, ilagay yung informed consent, the consent form. Sample lang. Appendix C, your questionnaire or your instrument. So include your instruments under this appendix. So kung tatlo yan, so tatlo yung appendix under questionnaire. Okay? The Gantt chart of activities, if you have it from the very beginning, include nyo lang din dito. Chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you have it, then place it here as your appendix. And then the last appendix is your curriculum vitae or your CV. So each of you should submit a CV or like a resume, okay, of your own. So yun, kung 12 kayo, 12 dapat yung CV na mag-reflect. So these are all the appendices. Okay, so kung meron pa kayong gustong ilagay as your appendix, you can go ahead and include that. Kung tingin nyo necessary siya. Okay, so question for the appendices. Question guys for the appendix. Walang question. Sige, so I will now go to the last part of my topic, abstract na. So, ibig sabihin guys, pag tapos na kayo with your chapter 4 and chapter 5, here comes the last, the abstract. And yeah, yay, you're done na with your research work. So, nakaraos na kayo. So, actually, ito talaga yung itong subject na to, yung hirap na hirap yung mga estudyante at kinaayawan, kinababaliwan ng mga estudyante. Pag nakaraos dito, ang laking tawag dito, para nabunutan sila ng tinik talaga, 'di ba? So, ayan, kapag nagawa niyo 'to, ibig sabihin, I mean, pag nandito na kayo sa part na 'to, tapos na yung chapter 4 and 5. So, this is the last. And then tapos na yung appendices, so this is the last part. Ginagawa natin yung abstract kapag tapos na yung inyong study. So your abstract is used to provide overview of your study. Scholars, so ito yung abstract. Di ba in every journal na nabasa nyo, yung mga published research, laging may abstract. Kasi nga, it is used to provide an overview or like um, a bird's eye view of that research or of that paper. Okay? So ito yung parang pinaka-summary ng kalahatan ng buong paper. So scholars often write abstracts for various applications. So, ginagamit yung abstract during conference presentation, journal articles, ayan, sa mga nabasa nyo yung journals, invited talks, and lectures. So, the application may necessarily change the length of the abstract depending on institution, yung bilang ng words varies. Okay, some 50 to 75 words yung required. Okay? Some would require na count of words na dapat no more than 250 words. So, bibilangin nyo talaga yung words. Dapat hindi sosobra sa inyong university format. I do not know how much is the sa inyo sa NUST. Ask na lang your advisor kung ilan yung count of words for the abstract. Okay, so yun, follow the numbers kung ilan lang yung required. So dito for the abstract, so scientific abstracts introduce journal articles. It inform readers about the article's content. So ito yung mga purpose, It helps the readers decide whether or not to read article. It provides overview, conference, programs, abstract collections, and book chapters. So ibig sabihin, ayun nga, bird's eye view lang ng research paper yung ating mga abstract. Now, why should I know how to write abstract? So, bakit ba dapat nyo malaman? Because it helps you present complex information in a clear, concise manner. So, tignan nyo naman kasi chapters 1 to 5. Pero pag susulat nyo yung abstract, dapat lahat ng iyon ay included. Okay? Meaning from chapters 1 to 5, mabubuod niyo siya in a single paragraph, in a single abstract. Okay? And dapat ano lang siya, clear and simple. Hindi pwedeng yung abstract ninyo is very complex and hard to understand. It helps you read abstracts more effectively, helps you conduct research, helps you write abstracts for future publications, and help you condense report information into a short format for database searches. So ito yung mga um, qualities of an effective abstract. So it is unified, coherent, concise, and able to stand alone. Again, based on your format, i-follow na lang kung ilan yung acceptable words. Answer RA kung ilan. Sa amin kasi no more than 250 words. Some dapat within 100 to 150 words. Ito naman dito, 200 to 300 words. So ask na lang your RA kung ilan yung accepted sa inyo. It uses an introduction, body, conclusion, structure in which the parts of the report are discussed in order. So ito guys yung common order in presenting your abstract. So you will state your purpose, the purpose of the study, the research question or the aim of the study, the methods na ginamit ninyo, the findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Very short lang yan, guys. No? Very short lang yan for each of this area. And straightforward or direct to the point. Kasi nga limited lang yung words natin. Kadalasan ito yung pinapakita. Okay? So you follow this one. Purpose, research question, methods, findings, conclusion, recommendations. In other, IMRaD format yung tinatawag nila dyan. IMRaD, IMRAD. Introduction, methods, results, and discussion. So yun yung abstract na ginagamit nilang format. Pero just the same, kung IMRaD man yan or this one, pareho lang. Kasi yung IMRaD, it contains also the introduction, it contains the purpose, the research questions. The methods, ito siya. Results and discussion, ito naman siya. Okay? So, mas specific lang yung terms pag IMRaD. So, it follows really the chronology of the report. Add no new information. So, wala ka ng information na nilalagay dyan. Sinasummarize mo lang yung iyong pinaka-research paper. So, it contains stand-alone qualities. So, dapat, even without reading your chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, dapat yung abstract mo can stand alone. They are intelligible to a wide audience. Ibig sabihin, kahit sino pwedeng maintindihan at mabasa yung iyong abstract. Okay? So, it should not be too technical. Na yung mga nurses lang, for example, yung makakaintindi o yung mga healthcare professionals lang yung makakaintindi. Dapat a wide audience can understand your abstract. Kaya simple lang dapat yung ating abstract. So how do you write your abstract? Step by step to. Step 1, write 1 to 2 introduction sentences that explain your topic, purpose, and research questions. So again, 1 or 2 sentences lang. Okay, for your topic, purpose, and research question. Next, 1 or 2 sentences lang describing naman your methods. Sa methods mo, this may include the type of your data analysis use. At saka yung design ninyo, the design of your study. Write 1 or 2 sentences describing the results of your your findings. And then 1, 2 sentences containing your conclusions and recommendations. So, ganun lang siya kaikli. So, abstracts follow a version of the IMRaD structure, introduction, method, results, and discussion. So, ito na nga yung sinabi kong specific term doon, IMRaD structure. So, introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Same lang yan. Ito yung pag IMRaD, ito yung introduction part, ito yung methods, ito yung results and findings. Okay, results and discussion, kasama siya sa results, findings, conclusion, and recommendations. So, dyan lang umiikot yung ating abstract. Okay, so this one is an example of an abstract. So, medyo mahaba ito. I do not know how many words are indicated here. Pero again, your abstract should follow your university format. So this one, the first paragraph is the introduction, the objectives of the study. Second paragraph is the methods, the data collection, and the findings of the study. And the last paragraph is your recommendation and conclusion. So ganyan lang siya kaikli. Ito naman, this one is my abstract. So, ayan. So the purpose, the design or the methods, and then the research question, tapos the findings, and then the recommendation. So, ganyan lang siya kaikli. Ayan, just added another example. Ito naman, makikita nyo na iba, chinachop-chop yung abstract. Ito yung IMRaD. Pero nakalagay, same lang din niya kasi, di ba? Introduction or the background, methods, the results, and the discussion. Tapos ito may conclusion. Pero sa atin, Tuloy-tuloy lang in paragraph. Okay, so that is how you are going to write your abstract. So I already sent all the materials to you guys. Do you have any questions?